Black Docs Talk. My name is Dr. Cynthia Gu, and today we'll be talking about moms in medicine.
I'm Dr. Lauren Urota. I am family medicine, and I am the proud mom of a 4-year-old, soon to be 5 in June.
Count those years.
Yes.
My name is Dr. Janelle Lee Allen, and I am in gastroenterology fellowship at the time, and I am proud mama to 2 teenagers, actually, a boy and a girl.
Yay. My name is Dr. Ngungwa. I'm in pediatrics medicine. I am a proud mom of a 4-year-old, soon to be 5-year-old.
Yay!
Play
And
dates.
I don't have any children, but I work with them. So
Yes. You have plenty of children, more than we have all together.
So how does it, I always hear that there are some difficulties, with kind of managing a family and, being, in training or actually working as a physician. How did you guys feel? Like, you're currently still in training, and you're in training too. And did it change actually when you became an attending?
For sure. So I had my son when I was in my 2nd year of residency. So I was going into my 3rd, and right around that time, you were getting ready for, your last year applying. You're also taking step 3. So it was a very busy yet, timing-wise, not that bad, because I think it would have been a little more challenging if I had my 1st year in residency where I'm just getting acclimated to everything. But it did have its challenges. There was no real place to breastfeed, not in at least my office. So I'm actually taking a patient room, putting the flags all up, telling my MA, don't let anybody in, double lock the door, and then trying to find that time in between seeing patients. Taking maternity leave in the middle of, your training. You come back and you're just trying to get the brain mom fog going on. You're trying to get all that together, trying to remember, what's the dosage of that medicine again? Like, you just got to get back into the groove of things. And I feel like, maternity leave is 6 months or 6 weeks traditionally for you just have natural birth, 8 if you have C-section, and it's just not enough. It goes by like that. So that was definitely a challenge. I think certain rotations, certain programs in residency definitely have different support. I was lucky enough to be in family medicine, so we love family, and I noticed that the culture was more accepting. I was more thought of, do you want to take this chair, or you know what, I'll take this patient case, and working with me, helping me out when I was on pediatrics. Not quite the same when I was on internal medicine. Like, what's this belly on, it was not a surgery, you're just not, it's just not thought of, so the dynamic is different. Now as an attending, I feel like I have more control over my schedule. I can definitely feel that what I did learn during that challenging time can apply really well. I do feel it did make me a better physician to know firsthand those experiences and things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I had my son when I was transitioning between basic science into clinical rotation, so it was tough. But thank God for supportive family. But with your rotations, again,
You were in the Caribbean, though.
I was.
You had him in the Caribbean?
No, I had him here just after step 1. So that transition was very hard because being a Caribbean graduate, we didn't have a base hospital. So I moved around a lot, sometimes a month here, 2 months here, 6 months here. So it was very challenging, and I was very determined to breastfeed. So it was very, hard. It was very hard. But some of the programs were very helpful. Even, unfortunately, not the same experience, but my family, my internal medicine and surgery rotations were a bit more lenient about, go breastfeed and things like that. But I remember even in the surgery rotations, I couldn't go into some surgeries just because I have to come out and breastfeed, and especially like an ortho surgery that's sealed, so you can't really do a lot of that. So there were some challenges and limitations, in that whole experience. But overall, I would do it again at that time, because I feel like you get more responsibility outside of training and becoming an attending. Maybe, you know, your schedule is more lenient, but you still have that responsibility, you know, and I think it would be harder for me now if I just had him.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm not trying to discourage you.
Well, on the other end, I would say, so I had my children definitely before medical school. But one thing I felt like is once I had switched gears, like you said, from the first 2 years being more basic science, more in the lecture hall, and then going into a clinical situation where you can be working sometimes 10 to 12 hours a day, and then needing to come home and try to read and study for those shelf exams. And I felt like that was the most challenging for me that third year. Because I would come home and I'm really tired from the clinical day, and then I'd be like, oh, I have a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, and I have to make sure their homework is done, and I need to see what's left. And sometimes they can be in pretty vigorous programs, and they've got tons of worksheets, and you're trying to double check and also get dinner ready. So those were definitely the challenges. That clinical year 3, and having all the shelves. Certainly year 4, as we all know, is one of your most lightest schedules. So there was not really too much challenge there. And I think once entering residency, my children again were a little bit older, and I think I had instilled in them by that time, their work ethic, and they were very self-motivated, and it was a matter of me just kind of checking things, but then trying to fit things in like parent teachers. When your clinical when your rotations would be like, you got to do what? And I'm like, no, I really need to go at like 5 o'clock because I have to be there for parent teachers night, so I'm not there all night. So I think having children, having that extra responsibility, like you said, definitely there are some specialties that are not as accepting, but you have to be able to determine, well, my family is important, and I'm going to do this. And if you really can't, at least being able to make sure that someone else is there in your stead, whether it be your spouse or whether it be, an auntie, a grandma, somebody, just really kind of having that extra, time management where you're seeking out families' help and support even in those aspects as well.
Did you guys feel that, in med school, since you guys had your same age children, basically, like, during med school, did you feel like you missed out on, like, part of their, like, development, like, their developmental milestones?
So, yes, I did not get to see his first steps.
Me either.
And they're both great.
Then there's things going on at home, that you're just not able to control or see, and they grow so fast.
Yes.
Those milestones are hit literally overnight. They grow overnight inches, so it's just very easy and difficult to balance out some of that miss. And if you have that good support where they are videotaping and sending pictures, that does help. Even right now he's in a school that they do those updates all the time, so I'm getting to see, actively what he's up to, and that feels, much more peace
She
of
has a
mind.
social one.
Oh yeah, I think he is.
Yes,
I feel like we
Not
have the
the
same kid.
No, that's awesome. That is so important.
Yeah, I definitely missed the first step. My sister recorded it afterwards, just so I wouldn't feel bad, because I didn't see the original step, and she's just like, I'm not gonna tell her. So she just records. She's like, oh look, first step. I was like, yay! And then 2 years later, she's like, that really wasn't the first step. I'm like, okay, I don't feel so bad because I already.
This is so funny because now that I have teens, I don't necessarily remember those
I
things.
don't remember
I don't know if I saw it or not. I have no clue for either of them.
It's really a thing. It's a
Yeah.
thing, and you just go back to the videos and the pictures. You're like, were you rolling at that age?
Yes,
I don't remember.
exactly. So, there's so many things that will happen. I think the most important thing is, for me, being a mom in medicine is the idea of, kind of having, again, that challenge of, if I stay and do another chart That means that I'm going to be either late to pick them up, or I'm going to be, being able, and I think it's not just medicine, but it's a lot of just careers and jobs that aren't necessarily family friendly. And the idea of, it's not, many of us don't have a job where we just automatically get off at 3 o'clock like our kids do. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, whether even if you're a baker, you're there until 5. And so this idea of being able to have that time balance, and also work-life balance, and knowing if that's going to be important. And I guess the only thing that I feel like in the back of my mind is knowing that we're all different types of moms, you know what I mean? That some people actually are okay with the schedule of, being workaholics throughout the, Monday through Friday, and then when Saturday and Sunday come, they're like, nope, I'm gonna be with the kids and we're gonna do this, or, being the person who says, nope, I'm gonna take vacation, we're gonna have beautiful vacations, and then I'm gonna, being the, because there's a lot of moms who travel, and who are like, I'm gonna call and we're gonna do FaceTime every night, so it's just, there's so many different creative ways, I think, is what's important, and really being able to try to set it up, like you said, to either figure out if the school is going to give you updates, and that being important to you. There's so many different ways. It is difficult, but life is not easy. And being a parent is not easy. But it is doable.
Right. So you mentioned like possibly sometimes having to miss like picking up your kids from certain things. Like, so we always hear about mommy guilt. Like, have you guys experienced that?
I don't think I did. Maybe in the very beginning, because you're just trying to get used to things. But I feel like when my son is older, he's going, and he already, I see, Dr. Mommy, he's working. Mommy's got a nice office. So there's that understanding of who he's dealing with.
Exactly. His mom is a fierce lady. Okay.
I feel like I'm setting up that example, and as long as I'm maintaining some of that balance where I'm not gone all the time, I do make sure I'm very present. And maintaining that balance is very important. You do have to feed yourself. I did recognize that early, where maybe the first year or 2 of his life, I was kind of lost. Like, I was like, I don't know if I'm me, still. Of course, being a mom changes you, but at the core, you should still hold on to you. And you get so caught up in breastfeeding and, changing, cleaning, watching them. And then you realize you're getting older too. So, having that in the back of your mind, reverting to that, making sure you're keeping that self-care for mama and being the mom as well. So I think all of that kind of circles back.
Absolutely.
And kids are very smart. I always say communicating with your kids is just as important as communicating with any other relationship that you have.
Absolutely.
So always, explaining to them that, hey, mommy's doing this for us and for this reason and things like that. And, I have to take care of sick kids. And he understands. But also he wants that time for him. So, you always have to have that balance. And even when I am on call, if I don't call, I will hear about it the next day. So you always have to find that balance, with educating them, your role in what you do, and also your role in their lives. And there's always there's gonna be times where mommy can't be there when you need mom, but thank God again for a support system where I explain to them. So I feel like communicating and telling kids, so they don't just feel like they're abandoned or they don't have that time, to share with you.
Absolutely. I don't have anything to add to that. I mean, honestly, because even, when you develop those relationships, because it is a relationship, when you develop those relationships with your children, and you're just going to keep going. You're just going to keep doing the same thing, even when they're teens and they're talking to their friends, and you seem like you're on the back burner, they don't think you cool no more. Guess what? Talk to them. You're just going to talk to them about any and everything, because in the long term of things, they're the people who you're going to come back to, when things go awry, or even when things are normal, so just being able to always be that listening ear. I think the only thing that comes to mind now is remember that you will learn from your children as well. I mean, it is very interesting because there are times when I've talked to my kids, even when they're little, and they will say some of the most astute things. I wish I had a really clear example so you're not just thinking like I'm, telling you some old wise tales. I'm really not. Honestly, kids will say things that, and say it in a way that's just like, yes, that is right. I think that's talk. Communication is key with your children. With your support system, whoever that might be.
And you gotta let go of that guilt, because there are no awards for the house being clean and immaculate. No one's going to come with a trophy, to say that you had dinner made homemade every at 7 p.m. No, there's none of that. So you have to be okay with understanding your limitations are different now. That is something that you can struggle with, because you might have been able to do this, and now it might take 3 hours to grocery shop and go, pick up your dry cleaning or whatever, because you've got a kid on the back.
That's
so
right.
That's your time limitations, all of that is just different, and it's okay. It doesn't mean that you're less of you, but it's a growing process. You do have to, get to that point.
Yeah, and just remember, I guess I will have one story where I remember being really late studying for, I think it was first year anatomy exam, and I probably didn't come home. I had typically made it a point where I would come home, from like 5 o'clock, eat dinner with the family, get everybody in bed, and then sometimes go back out because I lived pretty close to the med school. And I didn't come home one night. And the next day, as I was headed out, my daughter said, "See you tomorrow." And there was this wave of like, what did she say? Why? That means that she this flood of, oh my gosh, that means that she noticed I wasn't there. That means that, she really misses me. And that means that, oh my gosh, even if I come tonight, she's probably gonna ignore me or something like that. And I can even remember my son, during, she probably said something else, my daughter, it's always the girls. She probably said something another time. And my son, I remember telling her, Mommy's a doctor, so she's away because, she's taking care of all these important things. Really, it's okay. It's going to be cool. And of course, also sometimes the son is like, she's going to be making a lot of money soon. And I was just like, so just kind of going through the back and forth, but just remembering, like, you're doing the best that you can. And like you said, I talked to my daughter. I was like, I know you miss Mommy. I'm sorry I wasn't able to, come home at night. But also, in knowing that that's how I felt about it, saying, okay, well, how can I change my schedule that I can make sure that if I can, again, it's if you can, you cannot, like you said, there's no trophies, and you're doing the best you can. That's the whole point, so is if you can, how do you change it, and if you can't, you can't, and being able to give that expectation.
Right. So I think we got a lot of good advice. Well, for me, because when I have my baby, I'm gonna have a whole bunch of them. But I think we got a lot of good information about kind of what it is to be a mom in medicine, and kind of how you guys went through it. You guys all survived.
Yes.
And all look beautiful with all these beautiful smiles. So it's it's doable.
It is.
Yeah, it's doable. All right, you guys. Well, thank you for watching this episode of Black Docs Talk. We will catch you in our next video, but make sure you follow us on Instagram at Young Black Physicians. We're on Facebook, and look out for our podcast in the future. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, like.
We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks.
Bye.